All right. Well, I'm really excited today to have Dr. Sagui Gavri here, and I have a lot of questions for you about your work here. Dr. Gavri is the head of Pediatric Cardiology at Hadassah University Medical Center. And I have to say, I'm happy to see you today, like this, and not in your office where I have met you and where we see you every year for my son. So this is much better, much less traumatizing.
Thank you.
So anyway, through the years, we've gotten to know you as a doctor, but I also somehow, I don't remember how, stumbled upon your, where you live. You live about an hour and a half from the hospital in southern Israel. You live on a kibbutz down on the Gaza border, more or less. And I think the first time I heard, it was about you came under rocket fire at your house, your own house. I also have recently seen, and I can't wait to talk to you about this as well, that you were involved not just in, I know that you're a pediatric cardiologist for my child, but you're also working for One Heart for Peace. And I also want to get into that and what your work with that and how things maybe have changed or not changed since October 7th. But before October 7th, you already knew what attacks were and what rocket fire was.
Right. Unfortunately, ever since, even before Israel went out of the Gaza Strip, there was already some missiles falling in our area. They were very a small amount and improvised, but this has been going on since the year 2000 approximately. And Israel went out of Gaza in 2006, I think. Unfortunately, we gained a lot of experience in our area. We had in the beginning there was no alert. Then they started to give an alert, but there was nothing to do because you have like 10 or 15 seconds, and we didn't have a way to get to the bomb shelters. It was too far away. At a certain point, Israel decided to build for every house a safe room, a mamad, and they did that. And then it was more possible to reach the cases to safety. If the alarm was really giving you 15 seconds, then you can get there sometimes. Sometimes you get the alert after the bomb explodes already. And there was the famous war rounds from Tzuk Eitan and so on. There were quite a few of them. I don't even recall all of them that we had to deal with. And then there were many small rounds of 24 hours or 48 hours that were not considered real war, a real operation, just strokes being blown on both sides. It's a hard way to live. I mean, children in the vicinity of the Gaza Strip are very well trained in finding shelters, and a very high percentage of them, when they go to the army, are being disqualified from combat service because they have issues with mental issues with stress. Wow. And with so there is a big payment. There is a big cost for living at these areas.
But you choose to, you choose to live there.
Well, yes, you choose to live there, and you choose to live there. I chose to live there. I was born there. My grandfather was one of the people that built the kibbutz. My parents are still living there.
Okay.
And at a certain point, we decided that if we want to give our children stability and community and all the good things that I had growing up, it was we decided this would be the place to go. Of course, none of us has speculated how much evil can come out of it eventually, but when it's quiet, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So even before 2023, actually, there was an article written about you in June 2023 about it was in the Jerusalem Post, about your experience, but I think that was from 2021.
Yeah. So we had on the I think it was the last official operation that happened before 2023, when the Israeli the IDF attacked the Islamic Jihad in Gaza. On the first night, our home was direct hit by a missile, and
All right,
that
tell me
was.
the circumstances. Were you at home? Like, what happened?
So I was that evening. I was at work. I was in the cath lab taking care of a Palestinian child from Gaza,
Wow.
and then my wrist was started to say red alert, red alert. Once he did it 6 times, I understood something was going on, and I asked someone to cover for me, and I went out and went back home. And then on the way, I already understood that the IDF has started an operation, a military operation, and I have two sons, one of the 10 years apart, and they chose to go to my parents' house because my parents' house is my house is on a hill, and my parents' house is lower down, and then the sounds of war are a bit muffled. So they chose to go there, and they also feel very comfortable. My father is a very confident person, and they feel very comfortable being with him when such things start. So they went there, and I called home. My wife told me, "Listen, go to your parents' house and be with our children. I'm here." We had two dogs at that part, and she decided to stay with the dogs at home. She was in the safe room and decided to stay with the dogs at home. So that's what we did. I went to be with my sons and made sure she's okay. And then somewhere around midnight, she called me to say that the missile hit the house, and she was in the house, and she wasn't in the safe room at that time. She was on the other side of the house in the shower, and that was lucky that she was in the other side,
Yeah.
because the house was hit really really bad. I mean, the ceiling was blown away, the roof was blown away, all the back wall was with holes, all the windows flew inside with their frames, and there was a lot of shreds all over the place. It was a big damage, and she was so startled, and she wanted to see what happens with the dogs, that he just went out of the shower and ran to the safe room and ran over the shreds on the floor. So she had some shreds in her feet, so she got
Wow.
hurt from that. Um, so we took care of her. We went out of the house. We couldn't live there for a while, and after the operation was done, we rebuilt. So we had to stay out for almost 2 months before we could go back.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what happens in a situation like that? Like, you go live with family, or do you get put up somewhere?
What we had the possibility to live next to my parents' house. They have like hosting rooms that we could use. So we use that, but basically everybody has different solution. I mean, I have, because of this unstable situation, Hadassah has provided me with an apartment within Hadassah, in which
Uh-huh.
I can come here and stay here with the family, and then I can even keep on working as needed, and everybody is safer. So it's a solution that I have here, given
Okay.
by Hadassah. But other people have, sometimes people go to families, sometimes people go out for, to hotels.
Hmm.
Sometimes Mas Rechush is paying for most of the damage
Okay.
when you rebuild. There is a certain procedure. You need to do it through contractors that are authorized, and they get the money directly from Mas Rechush and so on. But there is a procedure to deal with it. But when you're the only one that get hurt, it could be pretty fast. But when you have many people that get hurt in many houses in the same time, it can take time.
So what was the situation? What was your situation? Was there a lot of damage to other houses as well?
There was damage to other houses as well, not necessarily in my kibbutz, but in the area. But we were like hit in the first night, and we called them very early. So the minute the fire stopped, one of them, one of the guys that doing the assessment came,
Yeah.
and then everything went quite fast. My
Okay.
mother for many years was in charge of this dealing between kibbutz and Mas Rechush, and so she was well connected, and she called them, and then per person came quite quickly. If it
Hmm.
would, otherwise it could have taken longer.
It's amazing what you have to become an expert in,
Yeah,
yeah, these days. But was this the war or whatever you call it that lasted 11 days?
I believe so, something like that. I
Yeah,
don't remember the name of the
that's why.
operation, but it was done during Memshelet Hashinui
Bennett.
with Bennett and Lapid. Yeah,
Okay, and was it around Jerusalem Day?
uh,
Yom Yerushalayim? Don't
perhaps
remember.
I
Yeah,
don't
okay.
remember.
'Cause one of them was around Jerusalem Day, and anyway, it's like now it's stood still again. Like Corona, time stood still, and now we have
Yeah, yeah,
October 7th, and then it's like, okay, now we don't remember the old ones as easily.
yeah. There are certain things, certain points which we remember pretty well, like the time that my younger son went out to play. They were building another few houses next to ours, and he went there to play on the sand. And then there was suddenly a surprise alarm, red color alarm, and I thought that he was inside with my wife, and she thought she is outside with me. So I ran to the inside. I was outside next to the car, ordering stuff on the luggage, and I ran in, and she was running out. And we met each other next to the door. This is like the alarm goes up for like 6-7 seconds already,
Hmm.
and I realized at that point that he's not with her, not with me. So I turned around and I ran out to look for him, and surprised, he was like then 4 or 5, and he realized that he cannot stay put, that he needs to run. So he started to run back
Hmm.
towards me, and when I came across around the corner of the house, I was looking to the north. He was running towards me, was like 20 meters away, running
Hmm.
towards me and crying. And from his back, I can see, from behind him, I can see two interception missiles going up to the sky. It was like a bad movie, It was like
Yeah.
so I'm grabbing him. There is a huge explosion from the interception missiles that they caught the missile that came from Gaza, and I run with him inside. to the safe room because
Mhm.
there is a fallout of debris afterwards, and it can take come a minute later or so on.
Mhm.
So I'm holding him, and we're standing there. My wife tells me, "Give me the child," and I'm holding him. Says, "Give me the child," and then I see that I'm like standing and shaking, like
Oh man.
so.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
some of the memories stays with you.
oh wow. And so I'm sure a lot of people are listening to you and they're saying, why did you rebuild and move back? Why didn't you leave the area altogether?
Well, it's a good question. My grandfather built this kibbutz, believing that this would be the border. This will determine the border of Israel and will be the safety of Israel because people will live there on the border.
Hmm.
And this is how we grew up, understanding that this is part of being there. Um, I lived for a few years outside the kibbutz, and we can certainly do it again. But this kibbutz was a root for us and a connection to my to my grandparents and to the family. And there is a community. There are many things that are holding you there. To go outside and start all over a place, and you always hope that tomorrow will be better. There's a great song by Chava Alberstein about the people that live on the edge of a volcano,
Hmm.
which is it's exactly about how they say maybe tomorrow the mountain will stop belching fire, and so we are living at the edge of the volcano. Is it smart? We doubt ourselves all the time, especially after October 7th on 23, that we after a year outside of house, the question of coming back was a very challenging question. And I have to say, even though we did came back eventually, it is still an open question.
Wow. Wow. I mean, talk about the volcano erupting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine it getting worse. But then again, I know that there's, I can't imagine everything. And I don't think many people imagined October 7th. I think they imagine more the other scenarios that you're describing, that a rocket hits your house or that your kids aren't with you. But October 7th, how was, so your kibbutz near right? That's your
Yes.
kibbutz. What was October 7th for you and for your kibbutz?
Well, it's a big story. There are many details. We heard many researchers what's happened, but basically for us, my older son, which is now 21, he was in the army,
Oh, wow.
in the armed brigade 401,
Mhm.
which fought later all the time in Gaza. But this was a weekend and he was home and he had a ticket to the Nova Festival. And he decided that he's not going there. We didn't know about it. We didn't know that he was not going there. He decided to go with friends somewhere else, and he did. And he left all his stuff, including his weapon, at home. And he went with his friends. And then at 6:30 in the morning of Saturday, October 23rd, 7th of October, so 2023.
2023. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, there was this. Suddenly, there was this continuing red color alert. It went on and on and on. It was clear that something different was going on. We didn't know what at the time. At this moment, we lost the moment it started. We lost electricity and internet,
Oh,
and so we were isolated from the world. We did not know what was going on. We went into the safe room, and about, I don't know, 20 minutes or half an hour later, the shooting started. There was a lot of shooting that we heard from both sides of ourselves. Some of them came from the north, some of them came from the south, and it wasn't very clear what was going on yet. And when most of the Israeli citizens could see in TV what was going on, we didn't have a clue,
Yeah.
and we couldn't reach my son. He was disconnected. We couldn't reach him, and this went on for like 12 hours.
Wow.
And other than the shooting, so I understood that we cannot just sit idle at the safe room. I had my own pistol, but I took his gun as well, and I kind of went around the house, checked the windows, checked the area. We couldn't stay put. Only when there was an alert, we went in, and after a few hours, it was clear that there was some sort of a attack from the west that came from terrorists that was blocked. We didn't know how it was blocked at the time. I know today that guys from the military that were supposed to guard the settlements. There was a group of soldiers that went and reached the. There is a big building of a hatchery that is about 300 meters west of the kibbutz, and they reached there and they created a barricade and they stopped most of the attack that came. And it also gave us time to get organized. The head of our security team did not raise the generators to restore electricity so that the gates will remain closed, will remain shut. That was a good decision at the time. And we have an officer that from the police that had a police radio, and he radioed the police asking them to give backup to the soldiers because the soldiers fought, but they were in a bad place. The terrorists had higher numbers, and they were overwhelmed.
Right.
And then a group of police. Magav people, tactical unit from Magav, they came and they rescued the soldiers that were hurt, and they won over the battle for Niram. And for later, we know that part of the plan was to go to Niram and around Niram and go to Sderot. So they also blocked part of the force that was supposed to get to Sderot.
Wow. Enough got to Sderot as it is. Many.
Yes, they came from they came other came from the Sderot, and there was a big fight over there at the police station. But this could have been worse. Could have been double.
Wow. Wow. You don't hear much about in the aftermath. You don't hear about Niram as much as some of the other team that are close by.
So Niram, the few other terrorists that were able to go around the blockade and around the fight, they were stopped by the Kitat Konenut of Niram.
The first response.
The first responders, they spread up in a good way and they covered the field, and the 5 or 6 that tried to get over the fences were shot before they could do that. So Niram was not entered eventually. Unfortunately, we had casualties for people that were outside of Niram at that time. There was another kid that did go to the Nova that was murdered.
Oh, wow.
Son of another family. His name is Ziv Cohen. And then there was people that from Niram that lived in Be'eri that were murdered, and people that lived in Nativa Asara that were murdered. So all in all, we had quite a few people that were hurt, murdered. People of the families were kidnapped, but the kibbutz itself was not harmed directly.
Okay, but now your son, you still don't have contact with him.
So I don't have contact with him, and we started to hear about rumors about the Nova Festival, and at a certain point,
that he's there. You thought he was there?
we didn't know. We didn't know where he was. We know that he had tickets, but we didn't know if he went there, and we didn't know what was going on with him. And then there was the internet started to come back in bits and pieces, and then there was this short movie of Hamas truck with a machine gun driving around in Sderot.
Yep.
And my wife shows me that, and I said, that can't be true. That must be fake. I don't know how it was done, but it must be fake. How can Hamas truck enter Israel and go
Right.
into Sderot? It was like
Right.
a
Yeah.
complete denial. So,
Yeah.
but eventually we understood that there was a big fight. Also, this what I told you about was the fight on the west side. On the east side was next to the road. There
Yeah.
was a big fight on the crossroad that enters the Am and the road. And then
Mm-hmm.
after this fight, they also went in and fought at the area of the police station.
Mm-hmm.
So then we found out there is a big fight going on in the road, and then eventually, when we got about 12 or 13 hours later, when we got him connected, when we got the telephone back, he told us that he went with his friends to Tel Aviv or something, and he went back at 6:30 in the morning. He was next to the road at the gas station filling up gas to the car.
Oh my God.
And when the shooting started, he was he was afraid, and he thought it would be very dangerous to go all the way to Niram right now. So he entered the road and went to a friend that he had hang out with him in the evening. He
Mm-hmm.
just dropped him off, went to the gas station, and then he went back to his house to stay with him
Wow.
until everything blows over. And talking about a good decision, because if he was
Yeah.
trying to get to Niram, he might have got in the middle of that fight on the eastern side.
And if not there, the road going south was blocked at
Yeah,
many points. So
yeah,
it was a trap, and no matter what.
yeah.
Oh,
And so when we heard that he was okay, it was a relief. But we couldn't reach him regularly,
mm-hmm.
and after about 23 hours or so, at something like 4 or 5 a.m. on
Oh,
Sunday, the army started to go around the kibbutz and say, you need to evacuate from here.
oh my gosh.
And so how do you evacuate when your son is not with you? I mean, I
Right.
had the younger son, my wife, and the dog, but we didn't have the big son. And but we had to evacuate. They said you cannot linger here. So we took everything, and I took also his stuff, and talked to him. And I told him, listen, the minute they will authorize people from Sderot to move, once the fight next to the police station will be ended, I'll come for you. But for the meantime, stay put.
Mm-hmm.
And we came out. It was like 4:30 or 5 a.m. and there's no light. And they when we come up, they told us, listen. They told us drive to Mishmar HaNegev, to the army base at Mishmar HaNegev. They didn't tell us which way to go. The direct way is through Netivot and through Ofakim, which is also eventually under attack. And they told us when you through the first 2 kilometers, use highlights. Whatever you do, use highlights and take your son's head down so that he will not look, because it was like driving through
Oh my God.
dead bodies, wreckage. It was like cars apocalypse.
Wow.
So we did that, and when we were trying to talk with the first responders from Iran to see which way should we take to get to Mishmar HaNegev, we couldn't reach anyone. So we started driving, and after I crossed the area of Yachini, Moshav Yachini, we got a phone back from them saying, "Don't go through Moshav Yachini. There are terrorists there."
My God.
So I said, "Okay, but we are after Moshav Yachini, and we didn't meet any terrorists, luckily for us." So we got next to Netivot, and next to Netivot there was a roadblock, and they stand there with their flashlights and the guns pointed at us. So we slow down and I take down the car and you ask yourself, is that us or them?
Yeah.
I assumed it was us because seemed organized, but it was an assumption. I had my gun at hand, and it was lucky that we didn't shoot each other. And then they told us, "Where are you coming from? Where are you going? What are you doing here?"
Oh my
So we said
God.
we're evacuating from the arms. So I said, go, drive. So I told my wife, this was next to the Tivot. By that time, I already heard there was also to do in Ofakim. So I told my
Yeah.
wife, listen, we're not going to Mishmar Negev, we're going to Jerusalem. So just after Netivot, I took a left turn and went out of the area in another unforeseen direction and went back to Jerusalem to the apartment at Hadassah.
Wow.
And only another 24 hours later, I could go and get my older son out.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
and
That's
then I had to bring him back to a day later. I had to bring him back to his unit, and he got in a fight with terrorists, and he got Helm Krav from it,
oh wow.
and
Wait,
it
what's that
was
in English?
Helm Krav. It was like a combat traction. You know, when you get
Him-
like stunned, Helm
yeah,
Krav. Yeah, it's not the acute. It's not the exact way to picture it
translation. Yeah.
because you can get a combat reaction and but he
Mhm.
had it on his psychological base of a child that grew up in Iran
Oh wow.
on chronic situations, so it
Oh
was
my
much more difficult.
God. Okay. Oh wow.
uh, but this
Unbelievable.
was
No, it's unbelievable. And you ended up, it's just crazy that you had to decide on your own to just go to Jerusalem and you're having no information if that road was blocked, if there were, any terrorists on that road. They're saying,
there
yes, they're on
were
that road and maybe on that road. And you've already, that's, it,
many people that came out of the kibbutz when the fighting just started also took crazy risks. We considered going out, but because our son was not with us, we decided to wait and see what the instructions are. Because previous occasions, the best thing to do was to just get as far away as possible
yeah,
from the uh, um, from the area,
yeah,
to get some peace of mind and not to be in the middle of the fighting. So we did it
it's,
before. This
yeah,
was, of course, unexpected. Nobody foresaw such a huge attack on. I remember sitting there in the safe room for the first 12 hours or so and asking myself, where the hell is the army? Why don't I hear the choppers? Why don't I hear the tanks? We hear a lot of tanks, choppers, Air Force. We hear a lot of noises all the time, heavy machine guns, nothing. I mean, for the first 11, 12 hours, we heard nothing. And it was clear, and it is clear today, that the Gaza brigade was overwhelmed.
yeah.
But at that time, it was, we couldn't, it was unbelievable that a group of terrorists, as big as it will be, could overwhelm
Right,
the defenses.
right. Right,
Uh,
especially with all of the, usual preparations and readiness on the border, especially with all the years of experience of what could happen and a fence that goes down under the ground and
yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
You're fine, but yeah, and the fact you had to wait for almost 24 hours also, that's, did you, I mean, I'm sure you didn't sleep, you probably just went,
Yeah, we were dozing. It was like
yeah, oh my gosh. Well, yeah, how long you were then displaced? It's the whole area was a closed military zone for a very long time. So
yes.
how long were you out of your home?
So we were all together almost a year outside of the home. We at the beginning we stayed here at Hadassah for a few days, and then we joined our community in Tel Aviv.
Hmm.
There were two hotels there that hosted us, and we've been in the first one for a while, then moved to the second one. But we mainly stayed at the Harrods at northern Tel Aviv for almost a year,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and the children had to go study there in
Yeah.
the Tel Aviv city and the city hall. They were exceptionally great in treating us. Everybody was so helpful, and the people they did. Supposing the government they did nothing, the people did everything. There were a group of people that coming to do our laundry, and there were people that got us to took the children to school, and there were people that were helping
Wow.
bringing stuff because you don't have anything with you, and there were people that were building like a shopping mall for free that we could take anything we needed, and this was going on for months and months.
Oh, that's awesome.
Uh,
That's good to hear.
yes, that the civil organizations form bodies in arms, and through Al Shuler Shacham and the City Hall of Tel Aviv and many sociologues and social workers and psychologists and huge help from what in every direction that came from the non-official channels.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's quite the experience. And it's like you lived it twice, in 2021 and then in 2023. But of course, on a national level in 2023. But
Yeah, that's what the whole thing.
yeah, I want to ask you about, part of your work, at least before October 7th, was with One Heart for Peace, and it looks like, I mean, you can explain it better, but that you brought that children from Gaza and from the West Bank were brought to Israeli hospitals for heart surgeries or for checkups, appointments, and I mean, it's amazing work. I know there's a few organizations that do similar things, but how did October 7th impact that, even on a personal level? Like, you were
Well,
under attack personally. Uh,
yes. That's a thing I'm still struggling with. Um, Heart for Peace, or it's called Care pour la Paix, was founded by my friend and previous boss, Professor Ryan,
Professor Ryan.
that built this program with Dr. Muriel Chaim, which was the person who managed this program, and they raised money mainly in Europe, mainly in France, to take care of Palestinian kids that didn't have any financial coverage, like health security, health insurance, and so on. From believing that this would be a moral thing to do with children that live basically next to you,
Yeah.
and that doing good in that way could make the people closer, make people look at each other differently, and with the belief that children are not to blame for their neighbors, brothers, parents mistakes or behavior. And they raised this program was working for, I don't know, 16 years or so. We took care of over 720 patients that received high level care, including cardiac catheterizations and cardiac surgeries. Over 230 of them were from the Gaza Strip, under Hamas regime. There was like an understanding that the people from the previous regime, from Fatah, were the liaison, and they used to be the people that, and Hamas allowed these kids to go out and get treatment, and they go back, and so all of that worked, and Hadassah paid half, took down half of the price, so the fund paid half, and Hadassah took the other half on it, so that we were actually nominated for Nobel Prize for Peace. And the Palestinian at that time said that if we will go ahead with this nomination, they will abort the program. So we took our name off the table.
Wow.
And so this is what we did. And October 7th has shown me that this was not as clear cut as Hamas and then all the innocent people around it. Gaza is practically a country by itself, or ran as a country. They chose Hamas in a democratic election, so called, and even if they regretted it since, that was their leaders. Many of the hostages in this situation were held by families of people that are not Hamas soldiers, and many of the captives that came back told of tortures and of a lot of crowd that was against them. On 7th of October, there were 3 waves of attack on the settlements next to Gaza. One of them was the Nukhba, was the expert warriors of them. The other one was just Hamas soldiers that were not in on it, but saw what was going on and came as a second wave. And the third wave, and the worst one, was just civilians that came in to plunder, rape, steal, burn, and stuff like that. And they were the worst. So the whole conception of Hamas terrorist organization and the rest of these innocent civilian in Gaza was kind of shattered.
Yeah.
I do believe that between the 2 million and something Palestinians, there are many that are innocent, and I do believe that all of them are suffering. The innocent and the guilty all suffer together, but I cannot tell them apart, and I don't need to tell them apart. I think that that's for them to decide what their fate will be, and if they want to stand up for what is right, they have the ability to do so. And I understand it's hard. I understand it's frightening. I don't know if they have any more to lose right now, but and you can see that today there are all kind of militias trying to get organized, not because they love Israel, but because they understand that Hamas has ruined them. I still believe that children are not to be blamed for what their parents have done, but we didn't get any, since the war started, we didn't get any children from the Gaza Strip anymore. We don't know what happened to them. We don't, and also I have to say that the Heart for Peace Fund has kind of died out with the change of regulation of donations in France. They started to put taxes on it, and then were less and less people were willing to donate for Palestinians. Donation became much more fashionable for Africa, for underdeveloped countries there. Palestinians, even 2 and 3 generation away from the first trauma of building Israel, are still defining themselves as refugees. They are the only group of people that has a special refugee organization in the United Nations. None of the others. You have many refugees in the world. None of them has a special organization. This organization was also involved in part of, some of its workers were involved in what happened in October 7th. So,
Wow.
so, 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 So yeah,
So,
I did not face so far. I did not face this dilemma because we didn't have any
mhm,
patient to treat. I believe as a sworn physician that if I have a patient comes, I need to treat him because it's a patient
mhm.
that needs treatment. Doesn't matter who it is. But certainly, I'm not looking around to create such a program again right now. It's not something that we're speculating about.
It's interesting because Israel and Israelis are, prided themselves on coexistence. A lot of Israelis, or many Israelis, and especially many who were victims of October 7th, like on some of the kibbutzim, some of the kibbutzes down there, that they had coexistence organizations, or they had outreaches, and it seems that this idea of coexistence is one of the victims of October 7th, that there's less of an interaction or less willingness, and it may have even changed some people's approach to it, and if not their politics.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm convinced that a Palestinian person and an Israeli person can coexist perfectly together as people. I know many Palestinians. I had some friends among them. I have many patients among them, and I know for a fact that these are people that you can talk to, relate to, create connections to, depend upon, help. Get help from. For sure, I trained over 6 Palestinian doctors in my profession through this Heart for Peace Foundation, so that they can be independent and we still work
Oh,
together and help each other. But today I'm not sure anymore that as people we can coexist. Not as a person, but as a group, as a nation. I'm not sure these two nations can coexist together, because when it becomes a nation, everything else comes out. That everything has to go with power. Everything goes with the brute force. Nobody understands just common talk, and always the extremists are the ones that are giving the tone in both sides of the map. By the way, in Israel and in the Palestinian people.
that's really sad, to see the shift in approach, and how you have to think about it. Because I'm sure that what the work you did was held up as a model of what could be very hopeful organization and approach to peace. But
Yeah, and it seems like the peaceful always get the lower hand in such situations.
that's sad. I was hoping to end on a positive note, but reality is reality, and I think that it's important for us to know and understand, that this is something you were more than happy to work in before, and now it's a question that has to come up as to whether or not even a wonderful and extremely impactful organization, will continue in the future. But that's
But
sad.
yes, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think
Yeah.
there was a lot of suffering that came out of all of that, um, and there will be a lot of suffering to come, unfortunately,
Hmm.
on both sides.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't see, unfortunately, I cannot see on both sides people that will be able to lead to some sort of coexistence as nations, and that's unfortunate.
That really is. That is, yeah. I mean, I have nothing to add to that. But thank you for sharing. I think it's good to hear your experiences, your story. You're coming, as a professional, and also your personal story, and how all of this has impacted you and shaped you. And I really appreciate just being open and sharing your heart with us.
Sure.
Thank you. Well, Dr. Sagui Gavri, thank you. And got to make an appointment for next year at your office this time. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye.